A warning before we begin. This episode contains descriptions of female genitalia and acts of violence against children.
Christmas is a chance for families to relax and enjoy being together. But for one family in Dublin, the Christmas of 2016 is a time they want to forget.
I arrested Halawa at 10:06 a.m. on the 13th of the 12th, 2016.
3 months earlier, Halawa and her husband Sayeed had brought their 21-month-old daughter to Crumlin Hospital for help. Now, Halawa was sitting in a Garda station being spoken to by Garda A.
I cautioned her that she was not obliged to say anything unless she wished to do so.
Just days earlier, this family had celebrated the second birthday of their daughter Aisha. Now Mum Halawa was brought into a room in the Garda station.
I think there was 12 or 13 people in the room, and they said, "Okay, let's search you. We want to take your fingerprints, also a DNA test." The men left the room. There were 2 women, and they said, "You have to take off your clothes." When they searched me, I put back on all my clothes.
Given Halawa had just been arrested for an alleged crime which had taken place 3 months earlier, she has no idea why Gardaí strip searched her, or why she was forced to remove her headscarf.
And they said, "We're going to take a picture of you." And I said, "You can take a picture, but you can't take it without my scarf, because you have already searched my hair to check if I have anything." And they said no. I said, "Please, I am Muslim, this is my religion. I will let you take the picture with my scarf on, no problem." And they said no. I was wearing a normal scarf, small scarf on my head. You could see my whole face.
Gardaí do need the face of suspects to be fully clear for any photographs. But the Council for Civil Liberties has told us there are no guidelines or recommendations in place around the removal of headscarves for photographs by Gardaí.
While being questioned throughout the day, Halawa received a number of breaks, including time to feed her 5-month-old daughter.
The husband of Halawa had arrived at the station at 12:06 p.m. with their 5-month. At 5:05 p.m, the interview was suspended while Ms. went to another room and breastfed her baby.
After almost 12 hours in the station, Halawa was released without charge. Her story remained the same as it always had, that neither she or her husband had ever done anything to harm their daughter.
We did contact Gardaí asking many questions about this case, including around the day of Halawa's arrest.
But at the time of production on this episode, 5 weeks after we first contacted them, they had not responded.
I'm Ruth Naga, from RTE Documentary on One and RTE Investigates. This is First Conviction. Episode 3, Trial 1.
And just to say that if you do have any information on this story, you can submit an anonymous tip on our website, rte.ie/firstconviction.
By mid-December 2016, both of Aisha's parents had been arrested in connection with an alleged injury to their daughter. Tuzla social workers continue to monitor the family throughout that Christmas.
Child and Family Agency, Dublin South West, December 2016. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Following our telephone conversation today, I'm writing to confirm my planned visit to your home on Wednesday, the 28th of December at 12:30.
Even though Tuzla workers were at all times being courteous and professional, the constant pressure of being monitored and under suspicion became more and more difficult over time, and a reminder that we're using actors to give voice to many of those involved in this story, including Gardaí, Sayeed and Halawa.
They used to come to us, but we were a bit stressed and scared of them even. We'd be thinking about what they heard or what they saw, and their reaction when they used to come to us and check the house. They'd never go in the kitchen and check, but they'd see the children. "How are you, Aisha? How are you feeling?" And they asked me, first time they come to us, "After you get your children, what do you feel?" And I was saying, "I feel happy." And I was crying as well, very emotional. And they asked me, "Did you sleep good?" I said, "Yeah, I sleep good. I sleep beside my children." And they asked me some question. Do you love your daughter? How is your life?
Sayeed also felt the pressure of these visits and questions.
When did you get married? How did you meet? It's not that we were hiding, but you have to repeat that to keep your children. You have to show them everything.
During the early part of 2017, Halawa and Sayeed began to feel they were being pushed away from their own community. They hadn't been named in the media, but rumours eventually got out.
And when the Gadi went to the mosque and asked questions, someone in the community told everybody.
Sayeed felt that no one wanted to be associated with him now, because he was accused of an act of FGM against his daughter.
And people were shocked. They didn't want to deal with me. No friends came around and no calls. No one accepted us. We were seen as criminals because of the media reporting. People didn't believe us. It's the state against you. Then no one wants to be involved. No friends were coming to our home. Everybody turned their back.
Ifrah Ahmed is a member of the wider African community in Ireland. She's also an FGM survivor and someone actively working to eliminate FGM. She can still remember how Halawa and Sayeed's community reacted to news of their case.
Well, it's different feelings, right? Like some people, when I ask, do you think they do it? They say, I don't know, but maybe they did because it's authority involved. And then you ask someone, they say, no, I don't think they have done it. But it's still, it was really mixed of feeling within the community saying that.
Even though the story faded from the media through 2017, that didn't change anything for Sayeed and Halawa within their community.
It's still outcast because people don't want to get involved in something that, already is a hand of authorities because people, they don't know what is truth and what is not truth. So, no, I think everybody get quiet. They just protecting their own families because they didn't want it to associate something that they would not know where it's going to. And especially when it's authority involvement, people, they're just afraid.
Halawa has tried to understand why her friends in the wider community pushed them away at the very time they really needed help.
Even my friends who used to come to me, they run. If I call them, they don't answer the phone. I don't know. They were scared of the system and the Garda and Tusla and everybody. There are a lot more families living here now, but at that time, there was not too many families.
And that's how 2017 continued, largely in isolation for this family, and under the watchful eye of Tusla. And the Garda investigations continued. By the end of 2017, the DPP had made a decision.
Dublin. The man, who's 35, and the 25-year-old woman appeared before the Dublin District Court following their arrest this morning. Our crime correspondent, Paul Reynolds,
suffering or injury. Now, Detective Sergeant Danny Kelly gave evidence of arrest, charge and caution in court today, and he told the court that the man replied when he was charged, "I don't want to say anything until my solicitor is here," while the woman replied to the charge, "I've told you before when we had an interview here that no one performed mutilation. I did not agree to anyone performing mutilation of the child. She was not mutilated in any form." They were granted bail on a bond of €300 after they agreed to reside at their address, provide the Garda with a mobile phone number on which they could be contacted at all times, sign on twice a week and notify Gardaí of a change of address.
Tim and Pam, who've been working across this project for the last year, they can tell us what happened next.
That Christmas passes the family by in a bit of a haze. Sayeed and Halawa are becoming more and more anxious as all of this is progressing. They're not always sure what's going on, not just because English isn't their first language, but because they've never been in a situation like this before. Even having to go to a Garda station every week to sign on for bail is humiliating for them.
Christmas and New Year move into January and February 1st arrives. They're back in court to have the book of evidence served against them. It contains 20 exhibits, including copies of their Garda interviews, the toy and photographs of the toy they say caused the injury to Aisha, forensic samples from their home including carpet samples, medical evidence and other documentation.
After that court appearance, Sayeed and Halawa go home. They're unsure what happens next, but they know they will eventually go on trial for a crime they continue to say never happened.
You might remember back in episode 1, newspaper headlines mentioned that Gardaí suspected a so-called witch doctor could have been involved. But as far as we can tell, the state has never presented any evidence to suggest who that person might have been.
The DPP will never accuse Sayeed and Halawa of actually performing FGM on Aisha. In fact, they'll say there's no evidence of that. Instead, what they're saying is that they aided, abetted or procured an act of FGM on Aisha and that they must have been present when it happened.
During the spring of 2018, Halawa becomes pregnant with their third child, this time a boy.
There's a brief court mention of their case in April 2018, when Sayeed and Halawa are informed they will go on trial in about 18 months' time in Ireland's first ever criminal case of FGM.
For the rest of 2018, they continue to sign on twice weekly for bail at their local Garda station, and their children continue to be monitored.
2018 closes out for Sayeed and Halawa with some happiness when they welcome their newborn son. But that cloud of uncertainty around their lives remains. As they move through spring and summer of 2019, they try to maintain a normal family life. 3 children now under the age of 5 means their home is busy. And all the while they continue to be under the supervision of Tusla.
26th of August 2019. Dear Mr. and Mrs. regarding Review Child Protection Conference of Aisha and
Child protection conferences are often called. This is where various parties come together to discuss the family's situation.
This is an obligation of TUSLA under Children First national guidelines.
This July 2019 conference goes on to outline what are termed risk factors.
2016, doctors confirmed Aisha had type 1 FGM performed on her.
TUSLA have suspicions around FGM for both of Sayeed and Halawa's daughters, and there are other concerns.
The girls do not have enough English to say if they are hurt to tell someone. Dad does not agree FGM was performed. 100% not in agreement. Parents told doctors that Aisha slipped on a toy.
The minutes of that July conference also tell us that Sayeed and Halawa had completed education around FGM, that the children are very well cared for in every other aspect, and that there are no other child protection welfare concerns. And some remarks on Sayeed are also recorded.
Dad now knows the consequences of performing FGM, 14 years imprisonment, and the health issues for the girls. Dad would allow the girls to have FGM education when they were able to understand this.
And then there's a box with the heading, Bottom Line.
If Aisha's parents are imprisoned after they face trial next year, then TUSLA social workers will seek legal advice for alternative care arrangements for the girls, as they cannot be confident that extended family members will not harm the girls by cutting for the purpose of FGM.
These accusations towards extended family members are later withdrawn under a threat of legal action. They were totally unfounded. The report goes on.
While the parents refute that FGM occurred, the social work department believed the assessment of the medical professionals and believed that Aisha was subject to FGM.
Finally, in the comments section, Sayeed is noted as saying,
"Nothing happened to my daughter,"
with Garda comments stating,
"Denial almost 3 years later. Very strong medical evidence it happened."
In a case like this, where the parents are consistently maintaining their innocence in the face of evidence that suggests, whether correctly or not, that they were not innocent, that can make the parents start to look like they're just not cooperating.
Child protection expert Shane Dunphy knows from experience that Sayeed and Halawa's consistent refusal to accept they injured their daughter in any way was unlikely to help their case, especially in light of the medical evidence presented against them.
You know, a social worker and the Gardaí involved are just going to be thinking, look, why do you not just come clean, work with us, you know, show that you have genuine remorse. Where parents are consistently not cooperating in that regard, that can become very frustrating for the child protection professionals involved.
As summer turns to autumn in 2019, the home visits by social workers continue, as well as regular health clinic visits for the children, and some new physical examinations on Aisha. Pam and Tim again.
These physical examinations are taking place in the Laurels Clinic, a paediatric forensic medical unit attached to Crumlin Children's Hospital. It's the unit where children who have been victims or suspected victims of sexual abuse are examined and monitored. Then in October 2019, there's another examination of Aisha, who's now approaching her 5th birthday.
This examination is carried out again by one of the consultants originally involved in the case, and again uses a coloscope video machine to closely record and examine Aisha. Compared to the previous recordings, this one is of a much better quality. But this 2019 video and examination report is not given to the defence team or to the prosecution.
We're now just weeks away from when Sayeed and Halawa will stand trial. They both actually have the same solicitor, appointed through free legal aid. As their defence team makes the final preparations, Sayeed pleads with them to focus on one crucial element.
Before I gave evidence, I met my legal team and my barrister. I wanted a medical expert to examine my daughter to prove that we are innocent.
The defence team have been looking for an FGM expert, but part of the problem with diagnosing FGM, especially in very young children, is that there are very few experts in the world. The Irish Family Planning Clinic did have an FGM specialist and they were contacted, but they were unable to help because of Aisha's age.
So the couple's defence team hires a forensic medical expert from the UK. Barristers and language interpreters are organised. Sayeed and Halawa arrange childcare for their 3 children. Their case is expected to last anything up to 2 weeks.
This trial is going to be a big one for 2 reasons. It's the first of its kind in Ireland, and the defendants are pleading not guilty. Obviously enough, everyone is nervous, including Halawa.
I had never been before a jury or a court or anything. I was asking my solicitor what's going to happen, and he was saying, we need to have a jury to listen to your case. And actually, I thought maybe the jury are going to see. There's no evidence. There's no nothing.
After a few days of pre-trial motions, on Tuesday, November 19th, 2019, a jury of 8 men and 4 women are sworn in. Sayeed and Halawa could see they were all white and were told they were all Irish. The following day, Halawa is really hopeful as day 1 of the trial begins.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe I was going to go free. You didn't do anything. You didn't commit a crime. But you have to suffer.
Sayeed is also nervous and isn't sure what to expect.
It was my first time to go to court like that. It was like I was watching my life as a movie, but a life painted differently. I was, a spectator.
The first day of the trial hears opening speeches from both sides. Lots of evidence from Gardaí and a number of medical witnesses. The first of whom is the surgeon who had been called into Crumlin Hospital to examine Aisha. We've reenacted the court scenes using actors.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
This is Shane Costello, senior counsel for the DPP, the prosecution side.
Can you clarify for me, is your name Sri Paran or is it Paran? Should I be addressing you as Mr. Paran or Mr. Sri Paran?
Mr. Paran.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, it just wasn't clear. Now, you appear to be quite softly spoken.
Okay.
And we have a large courtroom here. People have to hear everything you say.
Sure.
So, use that microphone in front of you. Thank you very much.
After establishing Dr. Paran's academic and professional qualifications, Mr. Costello goes back in time.
If I then could bring you back to September of 2016, were you working in that capacity back then?
Yes, I was on call for the 2 hospitals on that day. It's a Friday, so we do Friday, Saturday, Sunday on call, so.
Do you recall being introduced to or meeting with a patient by the name of Aisha?
I do.
And do you remember her date of birth at this stage?
All I know is she was 21 months old, so I don't know the exact date of birth.
Now, when you met with her, where did you meet her?
I met her as she was being wheeled into the theatre for surgery.
Then there's some discussion about surgeons being on call before Mr. Costello gets back to Aisha being wheeled into theatre on that Friday evening in 2016.
And at that point, did you perform any examinations upon her?
No, the decision for surgery has already been made.
Right. In what condition had she presented to you at the hospital?
Well, she presented with bleeding from the perineal region. So initially they tried controlling the bleeding on conservative measure. Just like any other bleeding in the body, you put some pressure and wait and see whether it will stop. When it doesn't stop and there's significant bleeding, then we need to bring to theatre to examine and control it. I observed that she was bleeding from the... Without an anatomy diagram, it is very difficult to explain, but in the region just above the urethra, where you would expect the clitoris to be.
Yes, and when you say where you would expect the clitoris to be, did you observe anything when you looked at that area?
Yes. Initially, we were concerned about controlling the bleeding, but once we controlled the bleeding, we tried to figure out what is happening, and then we noticed that the clitoral head was absent.
Dr. Paran goes on to tell the court that Aisha could have gone into shock due to blood loss after about 20 hours. You might remember from episode 1, in earlier Garda interviews, he had referred to a shorter time frame of 6 to 10 hours. When we asked about this difference, Children's Health Ireland said they do not comment on individual cases.
Back in court, Barrister Patrick Gageby, Senior Counsel for Sayeed's defence, was up next to question Dr. Paran.
Good afternoon, Mr. Paran.
Good afternoon.
I won't keep you long now. I'm sure you're busy.
Okay.
Do I take it that this is the first time you had ever seen an injury like this?
Yes.
All right.
This particular type of injury, yes.
All right. And I think from an early stage, you were interacting with your colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that ultimately ended in, I suppose, a round table discussion with your colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that would include Dr. Harty.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone else of that seniority?
Professor Fergal Quinn. He's one of the paediatric surgeons as well.
The next medical witness called to give evidence was consultant paediatrician Dr. Sinead Harty, who at the time was the lead in Crumlin Children's Hospital for Child Protection. Dr. Harty first met Aisha 3 days after she had been admitted to hospital.
I was asked to carry out an assessment on her.
Yes, and did you carry out that assessment?
Yes. I saw she was an inpatient in St. Anne's ward, so I went and met with her, and her father was present at the time, and I took a history and then carried out an examination on her.
Mr. Shane Costello, Senior Counsel for the DPP, is asking the questions here about Aisha's injury.
Were you informed as to how she had sustained that injury, or how it was being asserted that she had sustained that injury, rather?
I can't remember if I was told by the consultant, but when I had interviewed her father, he told me how she sustained the injury.
Sayeed had told Dr. Harty the same story as everyone else, that he and his wife believed Aisha had fallen onto a toy, and that's how she began bleeding. But on examination of Aisha's genitals, Dr. Harty came to a different conclusion.
My opinion was that the injury that I was seeing wasn't consistent with the fall on a toy, because there was no bruising on the outside or swelling on the outside. And
when you say on the outside, to what are you...
So on the lips, on the skin.
On the skin?
Yes. And that the injury was very internal to the outside. So, you know, the labia majora and the clitoral head, there was no bruising or abrasion or the things that I would normally see if somebody fell on something.
And based on that opinion, were you of the view that what you had witnessed or what you had observed was consistent with anything?
I suppose the first thing was that the history didn't fit the findings. And then the second thing was that when the only injury or change in the anatomy was that the clitoris was missing, then I thought it was caused by female genital mutilation.
Dr. Harty goes on to say how all her examinations were recorded by video and that after examining Aisha, she filed a report with State Services. Sayeed and Halawa are sitting in the dock. They can't quite believe what they're hearing. Halawa had gone into the trial hoping their nightmare might finally come to an end.
I had left my 3 small children in the house.
But it was really only beginning.
I was sad and shocked. Every day emotional. listening to the stories, and I can't say anything. That was the worst.
This trial would go on for another 6 days.
Every evening, home to our 3 children, my sister was minding them. And after we come in at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, we go to the children. Then wake up early at 7 o'clock in the morning, come to the court again at 9 o'clock, same story, and listen to them again.
By the end of their trial, Sayeed and Halawa's fate would be sealed, and Irish history would be made.
On the line now is Detective Chief Superintendent Declan Daly of the Garda National Protective Services Bureau. He has led the Garda's efforts to tackle and prosecute FGM. Good morning to you, Detective Chief Superintendent.
First Conviction is narrated by me, Ruth Naga.
The series is written and produced by me, Tim Desmond.
And me, Liam O'Brien, working together with the RTE Investigates team.
Including me, reporter Pam Frere.
And me, producer-director Philip Gallagher.
The music is composed by me, Mel Mercier, and performed with Carl Nesbitt, Paul O'Donnell, Niwel Tumbu, Clara Sanabras and the RTE Concert Orchestra, conducted by Gavin Maloney.
Saeed's words are voiced by Steve Hartland.
And Halawa's words are voiced by Isosa Ighodaro.
Legal advice is from Deirdre Ann Kelly and Eleanor Blaheen.
And sound design is by me, Kieran Cullen.
If you've been affected by any issues raised in this episode, please visit rte.ie/helplines. Until next time, thanks for listening.